Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today I've finally done it. I'm finally doing it. I'm reviewing one of my favourite games of all time. Anyone that's been watching the channel for a while now will have seen I've mentioned this game in multiple videos, and I'm just going to review the damn thing and get it over with because I love it. And it is Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Shock horror, I know. So Lord of the Rings Third are often described as Final Fantasy with Lord of the Rings sort of story and characters, which is essentially what it is. You play as Berethor, a Gondorian that has been sent after Boromir by Denethor. You know, that guy that lit himself on fire and then ran off the roof. That one. And it very closely follows the storyline of the movies. You're always sort of like one step behind Fellowship until you all meet up in Helm's Deep. And it includes a lot of video scenes voiced over by Gandalf. I think the voiceover is original. It does have voices for all the Fellowship in there, but it's like cribbed from the movies and just reapplied in different places. It does make it feel sort of authentic in that way, and it was developed by EA. I think it was EA Redwood Shores, and they've done a smashing job in like bringing the film to life on the generation of console it came out on, which was the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. The footage you're seeing is PlayStation 2. I am running it emulated off of the disc, so there will be a few hiccups every now and again. That didn't happen in the original game, but the original game also didn't run at 1440p. So you pay your money, you take your choice. And for like a game where the combat is turn-based, it's not a huge deal breaker for me if there's a few stutters here and there. So there we go. This is definitely the way I'd rather play it, although I do also have the GameCube version. I've captured footage from that, and if you compare the two, it's just night and day. It's so much better emulated, and that's where I'd rather do it. So you start with just Berethor and immediately get another party member in Idriel, an elf in the service of Galadriel, not Galadriel, you know, proper Galadriel. And from there you're off on your adventure. You're basically chasing after the Fellowship. You're hitting all the same places they've been to, and just slightly behind them, as I say, until you get to Helm's Deep. So you find the camp where they were teaching the hobbits to sword fight and almost got rumbled by the Krabens. And it's just such... I love it. I genuinely love it. So you run about in a third sort of person, sort of, not open world, but like each area is quite large, and you get a map so you can see where you're going, and it's got quite clear quest markers, so there's not really too much getting lost. And you run about in there, you find chests, and inside the chest you get consumables, you get like armor or weapons or just equipment for your characters that obviously make them better or worse, depending on if you equip something that's worse. The characters are great. They're very stereotypical, so you have these various stereotypes, like you have the Gondorian, the dwarf, you have a Rohirrim, you have a female fighter, you have the elf that does the magic bits, and you have a Dunedain. And I like them all. My main problem is two of them, Aoden and Morwen. You don't get to sort of like quite far into the game, by which point you've already sort of established your battle tactics, and you're trying to like level these guys up so they become a viable option, which is possible because you can go back to previous chapters and just do like roaming encounters with lower level enemies if like the new characters can't handle the ones you're currently fighting. Each character has skills. They have kind of 4 sets. So you have one that's basically centered around your weapon, one which is magical, that can range from shouts to enhancing your weapon to do magical things, or just flat out spells, I suppose. You have passives, which gets really handy. I'll go on to that in a bit. And you also have perfect mode. Perfect mode is basically build up as you fight. bar, and when it reaches the top, you can unleash a perfect mode attack. And there's a whole bunch of them. They range from like Ents coming in and screwing people up to wargs, stuff like that. Lore appropriate stuff. Or the eagles, I think are in there as well. But I don't use it that often because a lot of the passives say when your like perfect meter is full, it does this, and that usually outweighs the benefit of the sort of one attack from your perfect mode. I mean, it can be devastating. It can like wipe out a screen of enemies, but when you think Hadhod, the dwarf, he's a character that you can like power up to do massive damage, and when one of his passive abilities is to always hit critically when the perfect meter is full, you're kind of like, yeah, I kind of like that. That's pretty bloody handy. The probably the most broken. I mean, I always take Berethor, Hadhod, and Elegost, who's the Dunedain. Now I do this for a couple of reasons. Berethor has shouts. He has these like you can do like war cries and stuff like that, which will protect from being stunned or being made afraid. Now that's super important. A lot of the later bad guys and a lot of the big bosses can make you afraid or can stun you. And obviously if you're stunned or afraid, you're not really doing much. So it's super important to protect from that. Hadhod, because he's a damage dealing beast, especially like when you've got his strength up, when you've got that passive skill, and when you've got him wielding a big ass hammer or axe, he just murders people with it. It's great. He also misses quite a lot though, which is a problem, but you can address that by increasing other stats on him. So, and then you come to Elegost, who at a point in the game almost becomes broken, because he's an archer, so he uses his bow, and you get an ability called Arrow of Sleep, where you shoot a guy and he goes to sleep for a while, or until he's attacked. And then you can enhance that with, I think it's Arrow of Sleep Volley, where he literally shoots every bad guy on the field with that. Now, he might not hit every one of them. Yet more often than not, he does. And unless they're like a boss character or a champion or something big and bad, they'll go to sleep. But only for a little while until you attack them. And then you get Arrows of Lingering Sleep, which is exactly the same thing as the volley, except the sleep lasts until the end of combat or until they're attacked. So what that allows you to do is just concentrate on one bad guy at a time. Once you've got that skill, and you've already damaged him because you shot him with a sleep arrow, and then you can just focus on him. And the way it brings bad guys in, it's like they have a certain amount of bad guys to each slot, because normally you have like 4 on screen, sometimes 6. And when you kill one of them, if there's more bad guys to come, they'll just replace the guy you killed. So you just do that. And you just have to deal with one character at a time, and then you just move on to the next one and just kill them all. It's super unfair, and I love it. It's just great. I love just putting them all to sleep and just mulching them. It's fantastic fun. Berethor also ends up getting a sword which actually heals him as well, which is also stupid good. But I like it, so whatever. It does really well in keeping the appearance of the movies. This is because it's based on the movies, not the books. The licensing worked that it was licensed for the movies rather than the books, so there's nothing outside of the movies that would be endemic to the book. It may have taken some inspirations here and there, but generally speaking, it's definitely set around the movies. So if you had a problem with the movies because they weren't, exactly lore appropriate, then it's still going to be there for you, unfortunately. It has some very amazing set pieces in it, in the fact that you go to, as I said, you go to Helm's Deep and you fight the orcs inside of Helm's Deep, and on the walls you have to knock the ladders down to stop them coming. Stuff like that. You fight trolls, you fight Mumakil on the Penanor fields. It's amazing. And then there's some slightly weirder ones. So you fight Grima Wormtongue. Faden's not there, Grima's there, you come in, he's got like a couple of orcs got help and guard him, and you You fight Grim of Wormtongue. It's a bit weird, yeah, I know. He's a bit more solid than you would assume, actually. He also is a character that can do, like, fear, so you sort of have to get Barathor's Shield of Courage by that point to, like, make it a little bit easier on yourself. And the end of the game, the last boss, is, of course, Sauron, but, yeah, it's not like Macy Boy with the spiky head Sauron. It's literally the Eye of Sauron. You literally run up to it and twat it with your sword. I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me thinks that's fucking hilarious and awesome, and the other part thinks it's a bit stupid. But there you go. Everything that happens in the movies happens, but there's a few changes. Like, for instance, Gandalf does not fight the Balrog alone. No, your party is there with him, helping him. He still falls off the bridge, but we can't do everything, right? You actually kill the Watcher in the water. You fight him twice, and the second time you kill him, which is very nice. The bastard's been prodding me ever since I played the Two Towers. Good. And as I say, it looks fantastic for a PS2 game. And bear in mind, the footage you're seeing is upscaled, so it's a bit of a cheat. But, yeah. I mean, it looks great. It does have, due to the emulation, some stutters, and sometimes you'll see sort of black banding going down the screen, but it's generally when there's like stuff that's translucent going on, or things are fading out, like a bad guy dies and he sort of fades away. It'll happen around that sort of incident. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's more than playable, and is again sacrifices I'm willing to make for graphical fidelity in this sort of game. So the way the skills work is the perfect and passive skills are tied to your level. So as you level up, you unlock the passive skill. You can select which passive skills you want, and then as you level up, it will unlock that one, you select another one you want, and so on and so forth. The weapon and magic skills work differently in the fact that you have to use them. So if you're, say, unlocking a sword skill for Barathor, it will say you need to use your sword skills 35 times, say. It can be a lot more than that, which is grindy, but whatever. So any of the sword skills you've got unlocked, you use. It gives you +1 point in your sword skills, and you just keep going and going until you unlock it, which is usually in the middle of the fight, and you can't select another one, so you don't really want to use your sword skills, but whatever, you know what I mean? It's hardly ever perfect, it never is. Perfect is a myth. When you level up, you of course get points that you can spend in attributes, which are Strength, Spirit, Constitution, Speed, and Dexterity. Strength is damage for your weapons, Spirit is damage with your magic, and your action points, which is your mana, basically. Use that for special attacks. Constitution is your health. Speed is how early you go in the sort of order of things, your initiative, which can be very helpful. So if you have a Elagos that can put everybody to sleep, like acting first nearly all the time, yeah, we love it. And Dexterity, which is basically how likely you are to hit things. So obviously, you'll go for a long run of battle where like Hadhog will not seem to be able to hit anything, and then you spend a few points in Dexterity, and you'll be hitting things. You'll be like, hey, I did it, and then you'll do the same thing again. You're just like, you just take the piss, dwarf. Are you? Are you? The overall storyline, there is a storyline sort of beneath just following the Fellowship, and this, it's not fantastic. I'll freely admit that. It very much leans on what's happening in the wider world and like being at these seminal places. But there's some mystery surrounding Barathor, and a few of the other characters have things that come out during the game as things they've been told to do, or there's no like flat out betrayals or anything like that. I mean, so you don't like get to like a character and then he sticks a knife in your back. They're all pretty on the level, but there's just some like personal stuff that comes through. I don't want to say too much about it because I really want you to play this game, because if you can't tell, I bloody love it. I mean, it's like, what, £6-7 second hand on most of the platforms. So just get it. There's no reason not to. You can run it on a PC via emulation, or your PS2, or your Xbox, or your GameCube, regardless of what you got. You can run it emulated. It's original Xbox, by the way, not the 360. If you couldn't tell, I mean, yes, that should be obvious, but I thought I'd point it out in case anyone shouts at me in the comments for anything other than talking about this game again, which I have a tendency to do. Now, as I said, there are some downsides to the game outside of the two characters you get a bit too late in the game, to be fair. And the sort of storyline being second fiddle to the film storyline, even though you're kind of redoing the film storyline a bit. And that is the fact that you have these epic scenes, which are... You'll go through and it says you unlocked an epic scene and you just play it, and it's like just a clip from the movie with Gandalf narrating it. You're like, fine. But there are so many of these suckers, and it does a lot of the explaining of what's going on. So it almost feels like you have to watch them. At least the first time, you probably should. Especially when you find out what's going on with Berethor. That happens a lot in one of these scenes. So, yeah, it's not so bad the first time, but you just keep getting them and ignoring them on subsequent playthroughs. I mean, I've seriously finished this game probably about 5 or 6 times. I mean, it came out in November of 2004. Jesus Christ. Where does the time go? The sands of my life run through my fingers. But yeah, I mean, and my mate Jason bought me it for Christmas, loved it, finished it, and then it got lost in a move, so I bought it again on PS2, and I still have it. That's what you're seeing now. And then I got a GameCube, and I was like, yeah, might as well get on that as well. So I did. I haven't got an original Xbox, so that's why I don't own it on that. I suppose I could try and emulate it, but I've had problems with Xbox emulation, whereas PS2 emulation works a lot better in my opinion. But whatever. I mean, I have an Xbox One, but I don't think it's on the list of games. Maybe I should check. Maybe it is. I don't know. Might be. If it is, I'll buy it. How about that? Why not? Why the fuck not? If I can play it, then, you know, why not have all 3 versions? I mean, hell, the Xbox has surprised me recently in one of my Hunter reviews. The quality of that game blew me away. Like, graphically. I was like, Jesus Christ. That looks so good for an Xbox game. What's going on? Maybe I missed out being a PlayStation boy. I don't know. Well, there's no chance I'm being an Xbox boy now because, well, the Xbox games come out on PC anyway, so I'll just use that. And my Xbox One will be used as a Blu-ray player, as it has been for a while now. Because it just has a very nice drive on it. Oh, it's so smooth. Ooh. Anyway, I get sidetracked a little bit there. So, Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. A fantastic game. If you like Final Fantasy, if you like Lord of the Rings, absolutely no reason not to get it. It might, if you go in there with, like, having played, like, Divine Divinity and, you know, stuff like that, Baldur's Gate 3, you might find it a little bit RPG light. I mean, it is quite not hard. It should probably be the best way of putting it. I mean, like anything, it depends on the RNG, but most of the time you'll be alright when you're playing the game. You probably won't die too much, if at all. There is a more difficult mode called Evil Mode. So once you unlock a chapter, you can then go back and play that chapter in Evil Mode. And what that is, it's a series of battles, but you play the bad guys against the player characters. Or not the player characters, as it may be. And if you manage to survive all the battles, you don't get a save in between or anything. You get extra gear for your characters in the main game, so they'll have like more equipment. And that range for weapons, stuff like that. Like you get like a Morgul blade sort of thing for Berethor. Pretty sweet. But anyway, that's my review of Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. I bloody love it. I would quite happily release of just a video on it every week. Maybe I shouldn't. Yeah. It's kind of tempting though. Maybe I should do a full playthrough. I don't know. The Let's Plays hardly get any views nowadays, so maybe not. Unless somebody specifically goes in the comments down below, goes, "Oh, you fat bastard! Why don't you play this game for me, hey?" I don't know what that accent was. I apologise to whatever section of society I offended there. But you know what I mean. Yeah. If there's demand for me to do it, I'll do it. No problem. Absolutely none. Love it. I will play this game until the cows come home. Absolutely. I think I might play it tonight, actually. Yes. Why not? Anyway, guys, I'm going to shut up now. So, that's been my review of Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Take it easy, guys.